All right. Hey, Melissa.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Great.
Great. Well, Melissa, today's podcast is really fun, right? Because we're going over eating out.
Yes.
Which is a struggle.
It is.
For a lot of people.
Yeah. A lot of times we can stay on track until we're in a pinch and then we have to grab, something on the go. And that's a lot of times where we get in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was talking to a patient this week and essentially they told me I eat pretty good, and they couldn't figure out why their weight wasn't going down. Their sugar wasn't improving. And after we started talking, we started realizing, oh yeah, you eat pretty good when you're at home, but you eat out like 5 times a week.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll give some tips on how to stay on track.
Yeah. Most of the time, I think when people realize, they say things like, well, I don't eat that bad. I eat pretty good. In their mind, they're thinking, well, when I'm at home and I control it and I plan it. But when I eat out, obviously that becomes a problem. And with my family, with soccer and gymnastics and chess club and archery, I would say, it's not abnormal for us to end up eating out 3 times a week or sometimes even more, just because you're trying to get things done so the kids can eat, get home, get homework done, go to bed, and do it again the next day.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So today will be fun. We'll talk about a couple of things. So portion control, portion sizes, because those are really important if you're in the middle of nowhere and you have, you got to eat somewhere. Then we'll talk about some fun things, like things that people eat often and regularly, what to do or what to watch out for, so common pitfalls. And then Melissa, we have some maybe fan favorites of things that people love to eat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just some common menu items and how they compare to each other.
Yeah. And today we have a slide deck.
Yeah. A visual.
A visual, yeah. I wish the people who made the visual would pop on the podcast, but maybe one day. All right, well, Melissa, let's start with portion control, because this is maybe something that most people confuse or don't realize is important. But what exactly is this idea of controlling your portion sizes?
Right. Just making sure we're not getting too much of the wrong things and making sure we are getting enough of the right things. And one easy way to do that is setting up your plate a certain way. If you really have no idea, there's no nutrition facts on the menu or things like that, if you set up your plate the right way, you can at least have some control over what you're getting. So, a lot of times people will use some sort of plating method. Mm-hmm. Most models, at least 50% of your plate is going to be fruits and veggies, or some combination. Mm-hmm. Lots of the green veggies over there, kind of the non-starchy stuff, filling up half of your plate. And then usually just a quarter of your plate for the starchy vegetables or some sort of whole grain. So that's like your, starchy or fiber-filled carbohydrate, and then a fourth of your plate, your protein.
Yeah, and I think that's really good to bring out. Like this plate that we have on the screen right here, this is actually, like you said, if you can't count calories, if you don't have time to count calories, or you don't know nutritional facts, just setting the plate right helps out a lot. And the vegetable part, I realized I had to remind a patient today, it's not French fries.
Right. Yeah. Right. That's why I kind of backtracked, and like the non-starchy veggies. Yeah. That's like your side salad or your broccoli, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, those types of things. And then the grains portion, it says grains there, but you could really use that for any of your starchy carbohydrates. At a meal, it could be a potato or half a potato or whatever, however you're setting up your plate. It could be your brown rice. It could be just whatever starch.
Yeah. And you can actually buy plates that divide it for you. And then you start realizing, wow, it's not a lot of food.
Yeah. It's kind of eye-opening. It's more like, it feels a little bit like a child's plate, the toddler ones that have the little compartments. Yep. It feels a little bit like that, but that's a normal adult size or a recommended adult size.
Right. And it will kind of get some getting used to, right? Because we're so used to eating a lot of food. And when we get plates that size, we sometimes feel like we're not getting enough. But really, from a metabolic standpoint, your body does not need as much food as it did when you were 18. When you're growing, your cells are growing, you're growing taller, bigger, stronger. Yes, you need all that food because you need all that fuel. But once you get above 30, that size that you see That's probably all that you need. And it does take a little bit of not a mind game, but the brain needs to like realize, okay, this is enough, so.
And just learning how to listen to your body's hunger cues, and, they call it the biofeedback, if you're hungry, if you're full, different things like that. Learning how to listen to those cues can be really helpful in adjusting your portion sizes and just knowing when to stop. Just because if we just eat because this is the size of plate that I use and I typically fill it up, and so then you clean the whole thing every time.
Right.
But never listen, well, this day I wasn't quite as hungry, and so I stopped, 3/4 of the way through. If we're just eating that amount out of habit alone, we're just kind of setting ourselves up to do more than we actually need sometimes.
Exactly. So take home point, these plates are helpful, making sure that the dimensions are good, making sure that you're paying attention to your body. Those are all real helpful things that help us control our food, especially when we're eating out. Now, of course, Melissa, I'm not going to put this in my car and take it to like Ichiban, right? So our next slide, we actually talk about what is a serving size. And so you've seen a lot of things on TV about using your hand or your thumb. But this is actually pretty helpful because if you look, a fist size of veggies, that's just one portion size, right? Carbs, it's only a cup in the hand, so it actually is smaller. And so, yeah, you don't have to scoop rice in your hand and measure it out. But a cup hand is like 1 spoon of rice versus like 4 that you use.
To fill up your whole plate
Well,
and then put everything else on top. Yeah.
And so, and again, I like the picture here. Our fruits and vegetables, we're talking about green beans and broccoli and bell peppers and colorful and variety. And these things all help. That's what our body needs. And so, we started a little reel series, Friday about trying avocado. It's actually really important to try different types of fruits and vegetables and things like that.
Yeah. A lot of people don't even know what all they like and, until they try it. If they didn't grow up in a household that had Brussels sprouts, on a regular basis, they maybe would never try them otherwise. I didn't try Brussels sprouts until I was well into adulthood, and now I love them, but I would have never known, just without trying something different.
Exactly. Well, of course, these things are usually the bigger size, right? Fruits and vegetables. Now we go to protein. Protein now goes from cup to just palm. All right. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, a palm. That's not the 16-ounce ribeye.
No, that takes up half of your plate at least.
That's right. Yeah. And then you end up eating all because you're like, I can't reheat this. It's not as good. But that is really the size of meat protein that your body needs.
Yeah. They'll say the palm, a deck of cards, just something that little small portion, about 1/4 of your plate. Yeah, that's all. That's all you need.
That's all you need. Yeah. And of course, fats, and so this is actually really helpful because the amount of fat you need is actually only the size of your thumb. So a lot of times, specifically when I see people at maybe a salad bar, they take, most of the salad dressing they have is just all fat, it's just ranch, it's things like that. And they don't just put a thumb size. They do like, 2 cup size, 3 cup size. And so, sometimes when they're putting it in their app as tracking, they say, oh, I did 1 serving. But you got to realize that's actually like 8 servings.
Yeah, those little scoops, they're probably like 1/4 of a cup, and the serving size is smaller. It's usually about 2 tablespoons. And you're right, dressings are fats. So, if you are monitoring your protein, carbohydrates, and fats, your macros, those fats really kind of add up fast, especially on a salad bar. The cheeses that you put on there are really more of a fat than a protein. It's got both, but it accounts for a lot of fat too. So then if we add dressing on top of it, or maybe those sunflower seeds, all of those can be healthy kind of on their own. But if we start adding them all together, it really adds up fast. And those fats are just, more calorie dense. They have more calories per gram. I was like, where's my brain going? Per gram than proteins and carbohydrates. So they add up fast.
Yeah, exactly. And again, those are just things to pay attention to. A lot of times, in fact, if you look at most studies, when they say why people don't lose the weight they're looking for is in the age of tracking, where you have MyFitnessPal and Lose It apps and stuff like that. Why don't people seem to lose the weight while using those tracking apps? The number one thing is they put it wrong. I mean, they put it in the wrong serving size. They put in the wrong things where they just like, I just threw a handful of nuts on here. It's no biggie. I don't need to track that, except there's a lot of calories, there's a lot of fats. And if we're not burning it and we're just eating it and we're eating it all the time, or maybe our serving size is a lot bigger than we thought, that actually contributes to why, hey, maybe we're not seeing the results that we're looking for.
Yeah. A lot of times when people are truly having trouble losing weight, I'll tell people not only track these things for a short time, go ahead and get, an inexpensive kitchen scale and some measuring cups and things like that so that you can actually measure things for a couple of weeks. And that can be really helpful. It's not something that, you have to obsess over and do the rest of your life, but it is something that can help people realize how much they're actually getting and what is a true serving size. And that way, when they are in a situation where they're at a restaurant or a family gathering or different things like that, they can eyeball those portions a lot easier.
Yeah. Well, Melissa, as we are moving on in this, we talked about portion and portion sizes. Before we move on to the second part, which is these fun restaurants and, pitfalls there, I liked what you told me this week, which is, of course, eating out is important, but planning. Sometimes to prevent all this from happening, we do have to maybe make more effort on just planning things out.
Yeah. If you don't have a plan, you're just bound to be off track. It's kind of one of those things you've got to have at least some sort of plan in place. If you know it's going to be a busy week and you're going to have to grab dinner out after soccer practice or different things like that, have a couple of restaurants in mind that, are easy, good go-tos for you. Know a couple of menu items and, stick to it. Stick to that plan. If you have a plan, you're a lot more likely to stay on track.
Exactly. Right. Because if we're not, then you're flying by the seat of your pants. It's like, okay, do you want this or that? The kids are screaming left and right.
And you're starving.
You're starving.
You're hangry. Everybody's just,
Everybody's so mad. Exactly. All right. Well, let's move on. So, Melissa, let's take a look at some of these popular places that people like to eat at. So, number one, hibachi. It's delicious. The chefs are fun. The kids love it. There's fire and choo-choo trains and all sorts of stuff. But there are definitely some things you need to watch out for that can make the hibachi experience more pleasant for your health or maybe more dangerous for our health. We'll start with this. So obviously on our screen, we have a do this, not this kind of thing. And we'll start with the positives, right? We're positive people. We'll start there. So the first one is the carb or the rice that we choose, which here we see, hey, sushi, brown rice. Sushi rice actually has vinegar in it, so that will help block some of the carb absorption. But brown rice, because there's technically more fiber, the glycemic load is a little lower than say plain white rice and stuff like that. Other things, using seaweed and cucumbers, which that picture, I did not know they made sushi.
Yeah.
With just a cucumber. Yeah, those are things that are, again, they're adding into your vegetable intake versus just adding more carbohydrates and things like that. Looking for lower fat proteins like seafood and chicken instead of pork and beef. And then again, the vegetable, which they are actually pretty generous on there.
Yeah. Usually you can get a lot of veggies when you're eating hibachi. So yeah, just load up on the veggies. Again, kind of have that visual of, half of your plate, those veggies, and then just a fourth, the rice, and the other fourth, the protein.
Yeah. Which, again, going back to the portions, Melissa, we as a human being do not need all that food at one time. Like the rice mountain they make, and
could feed a family of 4 in some cases. Yeah.
It'd be funny if we ever went to get hibachi and then put it, divide it on the little plate and see how many
cups, how many servings that actually is.
That's right. So those are the positive things. Again, making sure, the rice protein, the portion sizes, the leaner proteins, and using more vegetables. Those are nice. Not this, soy sauce. So my son Ben calls it silly sauce. There's a lot of sodium in soy sauce.
There is, a lot of sodium.
Yeah.
So yeah, if there's a low sodium option, still have to be even cautious with that because again, portion sizes, even if you're using a low sodium version, it adds up pretty quickly. So if you are using it, kind of limit that.
Yep. And then, of course, fried. And I think most people realize fried foods isn't good for you. Just because it's tempura and Asian fried, it's still not good for you.
Fried.
Still fried. Yeah, still fried. And delicious. It's crispy, but whew, those are struggles. And then, okay, the sauces. That's a big one, Melissa.
Yes. Creamy, especially anything creamy, oily. Those, again, are those kind of calorie dense, and they add up very quickly. Pink sauce. I wonder how much.
We should look into that.
I don't know. I wonder how many calories are per serving.
Oh yeah. Cause all my kids, well, I mean, they want the pink sauce and they're going to eat all of it. And that's something maybe that we don't count because, it's just a sauce or dipping sauce, like at some of these chicken restaurants, right? But they actually do count and oftentimes can count a lot because like you said, they're more of a fat, than like a calorie-free, risk-free kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Melissa, moving on. Mexican.
Yes.
This is
Who doesn't like going out for Mexican?
Yeah. So Melissa, again, we got to just do this part.
Yes. Yeah. And we talked about avocados this week. Guacamole is a good option. But again, even though if you chose the guacamole over the cheese dip, it's still, it's still a high fat, calorie dense food. So it's healthier fats. Yes. But we still don't need usually as much as we get when we're eating out, know? So just watching those portions.
Exactly. And of course, alcohol is always one that is not calorie free. So actually had a patient the other day. He's like, I don't eat anything. I can't lose weight. What is it? And I was like, you drink beer? He's like, that's what it was. So it's one of those things that maybe we don't, because it's a liquid, and when the liquid calories actually is really sneaky, you don't feel it because it doesn't make you full, but it just adds calories and sugar and all that stuff to your body. So there may be some better options when it comes to alcohol, but me personally, obviously trying to avoid as much alcohol is probably helpful from a health standpoint. Fish and shrimp, a little better than the ground beef because that's usually a lot of fat in there. Corn tortillas for the fiber because fiber actually helps block a lot of absorption of other things. So that's important. The chips. That we might need to stay there for a second, Melissa, because chips, those are sneaky.
They are sneaky, especially when they give you a basket and sometimes two baskets and then they'll, come refill just as often as you want without you even realizing it. So portioning those out, maybe even utilize that little appetizer plate and put 10 chips on there and just eat that while you wait on your entree. Yeah. So that may be a good place to start.
Yeah. When the girls that made this told me that there are 900 calories in the chip basket, you instantly start thinking that's so easy to finish. Like, I mean, you're just snacking and then bring another one. And next thing you know, you're like, oh snap, I have to eat my entree. And so it's not abnormal to leave a Mexican restaurant thinking you didn't overeat, but you ate like 2,000 calories.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Struggle bus. Of course. All right. And then of course the warning signs, the cheese dip, the sour cream, the deep fried things, right? The fried tortilla shells, all of those things.
The taco salads that come in a fried tortilla shells. I mean, they're tasty, but probably not the best choice.
You just got to be aware.
Yes.
Right. Aware of what you're putting in your mouth.
That's right.
So, all right, Melissa, next one, Southern cooking. We are in the deep South, and this is probably contributing to a lot of our obesity epidemic here. So, grilled, broiled. I know it's not easy, right? You're going to, this restaurant because they're famous for their fried chicken. You're sitting here eating the baked chicken. Yeah. But there is a difference between the breading and the frying. And that's probably, to summarize Southern cooking, the salt, the ham hocks, the frying, that's really where a lot of problems starts happening.
Oh yeah. A lot of added fat, a lot of added salt, just overall very calorie dense. Yeah. So when you're choosing, try to go with something grilled or, what does it say? Broiled, boiled, those kinds of things. But then also, salads are sometimes a good option. And I know a lot of times when we're eating out at a Southern, cooking place, that may not be our, what's the goal. But,
Right.
It's kind of one of those things. it's not like you're never going to have, your favorite fried chicken again, but you don't have to get it every single time.
Correct.
So it's okay to opt for a salad here or there, especially if it's a week that you just know that you've got to eat out a lot, or you're just busy and, can't get the meal planning as regularly as normal. Choose some healthy options. Just kind of have that plan in place.
Exactly. Perfect. Right. So again, things to watch out for: the fried chicken, right? Which is delicious. And right, it doesn't mean you can't never have it again, but you don't need it like every single time either. Hamburger steaks, the gravy, and trying to find ways to incorporate vegetables. Although, the greens at some of these restaurants aren't
they're
really
like soaked in bacon grease.
Right. Not exactly the healthiest greens.
Yeah. And be careful. Even a lot of people will order like the veggie plate and get fried okra, macaroni and cheese, mashed potatoes and gravy. So if you are doing that, maybe opt for some green vegetables. Be cautious of the added fats.
Correct. Perfect. All right, Melissa. So we've gone to these sit-down restaurants, but I've got kids. They're screaming. We've got fast food. There's some fast food restaurants that have calories and things on their menu. And like I said, most of them have it on apps. So if you can plan ahead, you kind of know what you can order. But you've got some examples.
Yeah, I looked up a few of these. A lot of fast food restaurants and chain restaurants have the nutrition facts on their website. A lot of calorie tracking apps and things like that have a lot of good information in there too. They have some things even preloaded. So kind of looking at some of the common ones. McDonald's, probably one of the more common places that people go. We just kind of looked at their options. There's not a lot of healthy options.
No.
I thought they had a grilled chicken sandwich at some point. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. They don't now, apparently, because when I was looking online, I could not find one. But so for example, quarter pounder with cheese, 630 calories, about 37 grams of fat. And then if you look at a crispy chicken sandwich, it's about 470 calories and 20 grams of fat. So there is a pretty decent reduction there. But, sometimes just opt for a smaller portion in general. I was trying to find like just a normal classic burger, and I think it's the one that ends up in the kids meal, the Happy Meal. Their classic burger is 250 calories, 9 grams of fat. And then if you have like the little small fry that comes with it, you're probably looking around 400 calories for your meal. So, which is not, overboard for a lunch. It's not the greatest food, as far as like those micronutrients and things like that. But if you're in a pinch or just really want a McDonald's burger, choose smaller and, eat it, move on, do something with some green at your next meal.
That's exactly right. And I'll tell you, as preposterous as it sounds that people that listen to this podcast sound like, I'm not going to McDonald's as a grown man eating a Happy Meal. That is the portion size the rest of the world eats.
Yeah. And those are probably the portion sizes, like, I don't know, when McDonald's around in, I don't know, the 50s, 60s, that was probably just like the normal burger that you would order. And then over the years, they've just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. Exactly. Even the value menu is a double patty burger.
Yeah.
I'm like, what happened to just like a normal?
Yeah, no, exactly. There is, I've been listening to this podcast about the Ozempic debate, right? What are we going to do with this? And there was one well-known weight doctor from Harvard that kept saying weight is all genetics. That is not, our genes don't change that fast, right? But what we saw is the portion size of McDonald's in 1960 is the kids' meal in 2023, right? And even when I go to Asia and visit my parents, that is their size. Our kids' fries is their medium, and so it's so interesting that the rest of the world is realizing that, hey, this is not great for you. So we're going to help you by keeping things smaller. Whereas here we just keep.
They get mad if it's not big enough. Yeah. Right. Even the kids meal, you have an option to add like double fries and different things like that. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. We need to help ourselves.
Yes. So.
Yes. Which other one do you have there,
I've got
Melissa?
Subway and Chick-fil-A, both
Okay.
other pretty common ones. Everybody around here loves some Chick-fil-A. We'll come back to that in a second. Subway has a new menu. I haven't been to a Subway since the new menu, I guess, but I was looking at the nutrition facts. All of the new subs over 1,000 calories
Oh my gosh.
for a foot long. So, and even if you got the 6-inch, you're probably looking at least 500 calories for a sandwich. Now, kind of old classics like the meatball, spicy Italian, tuna, Italian BMT, and chicken bacon ranch. All of those, again, over 1,000 calories for a foot long. So, kind of probably the best option as we were looking, this a 6-inch with the rotisserie chicken and add some veggies. That's about 300 calories, 30 grams of protein, so you're getting pretty good balance there. Just again, be careful of what your toppings are. Even if you add like olive oil and vinegar, the way they drizzle the olive oil, maybe just choose the vinegar and some pepper or things like that. Be careful with the dressings.
Yes.
And then Chick-fil-A, chicken sandwich is about 440 calories. You can get 12 grilled nuggets for 200 calories.
Okay.
That's pretty good, and you've got 38 grams of protein with that, only 4 grams of fat. So that's not bad at all. But if you do choose the nuggets, the grilled nuggets, be careful again with your sauces because one Chick-fil-A sauce has 140 calories.
Oh my gosh.
The buffalo sauce is only 25 calories and honey mustard is only 50. Barbecue is 45. So those aren't too bad. But yeah, the Chick-fil-A sauce, the creamier sauces are always going to be higher. So yeah, quick rundown. But just kind of knowing a little bit of a plan in advance, kind of having a couple go-to items that you can choose, when you do find yourself, with screaming kids and at the Chick-fil-A line again.
Yeah, it's like, darn them for being so efficient and so kind. You have to go there. But yeah, exactly. So even going there, right, the grilled chicken nuggets, fruit cup, water, that is okay. And again, you might want to end up eating your kids' fries, because they never eat everything. But all that being said is being maybe a little bit more vigilant, planning things out. That will go a long way. Being aware of the sauces, I think that was a big one. Being aware of the chips and the fries, those things that you mindlessly eat and put in your mouth, that's big. We didn't touch on liquids, but I think people have been listening to our podcast long enough. Liquid sugar, there's no good, that's just bad. Right? And so I think that wraps us up.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good rundown. Having a plan is the biggest thing. Having a few, if you know that you go to Wendy's every week or Chick-fil-A or, wherever, just kind of have a few menu items that you can get and still kind of keep that forward progress towards whatever goal it is, whether it's your weight loss goal, your cholesterol goal, your blood sugar goal, there's all reasons that people want to choose healthier items. But just make sure that your plan aligns with that.
Perfect. Melissa, you get so good at wrapping things up.
I just tied it up in a little bow.
That's right. It's like a mom skill. Like they have to wrap these things up for the kids. Okay. Well, next week, Melissa, I'm thinking we start on some diabetes.
Okay.
Because that one, I think, is monumental. And we've actually had some really good success with our patients with diabetes getting things under control. And we'll share some of our tips on how to do that. Some of the food tips and some of the do's and don'ts like this. And hopefully people like it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Melissa, we will do this again next week.
All right. See ya.
See ya.